Welcome to the Beantown Bully Podcast. I'm your host, Basha, and let's get right into it. Again, it's been a drought, so there's not that much to really talk about, but I'm going to do my best to bring you something to fill your ear holes. Now, let's just talk about the Jonah Hill thing first. I could go into the other topic, but Jonah Hill, more important right now. They're trying to get us. Left and right, these bitches are trying to get us. A barren, sad bitch is trying to get this guy out of here. First of all, I should probably just put everything on the table first before I just start calling her a bitch. But bitches be bitches, dog. Just sad. I hope she's not even able to have kids and she dies alone. Like, this is just sad. Now, if you don't know the story, let me just give you a run back. Jonah Hill was dating this surfer girl. She teaches surfing. She teaches surfing from the story that was told. And he met her. He DM'd her through Twitter or whatever it was, Instagram. And they started dating. Now, he wasn't really feel too comfortable with certain aspects of her life. And he sent her a text of everything. And she had the audacity to drop the text on the internet because she said it was messing up her mental and he was being controlling. Remind you, this controlling topic, it's only controlling when you're a guy. When you're a girl and you're controlling, it's not really a thing. I feel like when people throughout the world narcissistic and controlling, the other person just wants to be a slut and a whore. That's what we're talking about right now. And it's okay if you want to be a slut and a whore. We need you guys out here. I support you sluts and you whores. But you can't have it both ways. You can't be like, I want to be locked down in a relationship, quote unquote, not really locked down, but in a relationship, and still do whorish activities. We all know that women, single friends, hate their friends that are in relationships. Just hate it. Just hate it. They will try their best to ruin your relationship. And then date the guy that you break up. They'll convince you to break up with this guy. And then date the guy they convince you to break up with. Just so that you won't be happy. And if it doesn't work that way, they both want they want you and them to join in their misery. And we all know this to be true. Women hate women most of all, but for some reason, there's a group of women coming together and hate on men. I'm like, okay, cool. But let's go back to his boundaries. He said that he didn't want her hanging around with her loosey-goosey friends who have low morals, low standards. Maybe they were doing drugs. And he don't want his girl being next to crackheads. Being next to zombies. Like, again, let's just be honest. There's some aspects of it like it's a little weird, but it's like a little weird in the fact that you met her. She said she was a model, but I don't really know what happened. If she's been in any high magazine, so I'm not gonna use that term for her. But what I am gonna say is she sounds like a goofy for posting all this because he clearly says, "Hey, if you can't accept this list of things, that's perfectly fine. I'm not the right person for you then." And he gave you a way out. If you don't want to come to the table and be like, hey, I can work on some of these things or whatever the case may be, however happened, maybe she did do that. But she in her adulthood, in her adult brain, because people want to make it seem like you're controlling when we're talking about two consenting adults, you had a choice in the matter. Do you continue being with this person, knowing what they want, or you don't? It could be the same thing like if he wanted kids and she didn't want kids, and he had said, yo, you gonna take this baby, you not. There's a choice there. There's always a choice there. He wasn't around here knocking her brain, shaking her brain in her skull, dog. He wasn't doing none of that. But why do hoes want to be treated like housewives? And there's a lot of conversations with that. Like, oh, well, you're not. Why would I do wively things without a ring? I'm like, okay. So what is it to be a boyfriend? To be a husband? So that means I shouldn't take you out? That means if someone talks to you crazy, I'm like, yo, you just a hoe in my eyes. I don't need to defend your honor. Fuck out of here. Like, you had nothing to me but a warm hole I put my penis in. And once the demons are out of my body, you're a complete stranger. Is that what we're talking about here? I'm going a little off track. I need to pull myself back together. She dropped this like a month after, I should say a month, but like a couple weeks after his new girl drops a baby. He left her like a year or two ago. And she's doing this now because she says it was fucking up her mental. Her mental. I'm like, bitch, a year you haven't gone over this guy? He moved on and put a baby in the girl he's currently seeing. Has a child. And you decide like, oh, I'm just going to do this. No. There's people siding with her. There's wannabe Twitter doctors. I'm like, yo, if you're telling me you can't tell people what your boundaries are, and they have the option to either deal with it and continue working with you in your current relationship, or you see other people, then I don't even know who even gave you your license. Because that sounded crazy. I'm on Twitter. Someone posted this wackadoo psychologist, and he says like he was being controlled. Look at the words. He's like, yo, it's not controlling if you have the option. Again, they don't have no kids. There's nothing holding her to this man except her wanting to be with him. And clearly, when he said what he said, she took a step back and was like, yo, I don't really like this. And that's perfectly fine. We all make choices. But no one's actually just accepting the fact that, like I should say, no one, but a lot of people's not accepting the fact that she really was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna drop this right after you drop a baby, even though you haven't been dating me for about a year and some change. Clearly, she hasn't met anybody else within that time period, and she just wants to bring shit up. She's just a scarred, lonely bitch. Because she was happy, if she moved on and she was happy in a relationship, Jonah Hill would have been an afterthought. And just knowing that she waited this long to drop it, again, he didn't physically do anything to her. And she would say he was controlling and psychological abuse. There's a lot of this term like abuse. You were given an option. The option was you either deal with if you either act accordingly to how I want or you don't. And what can he say? How come is it when men expresses their boundaries, it's like it's crazy. But a woman can say they want a whole laundry list of things, and it's just like, yep, that's understandable. Yep. Like, what are we talking about? What world are we living in that this is okay? Clearly, she has a problem. Clearly. And he dodged a bullet by getting out of there, because for her to be harping on it a year later, and again, one of the stipulations he didn't want her hanging out with her male friends or male associates, whatever the case may be. She didn't want her to be bikini picked out with her male friends, hanging out with certain people. Maybe he knew these people just wanted to smash his girl, and he felt some type of way. All this is good. And again, if you felt like he was, what's the term they want to use to question people's manhood? Insecure. Oh, he's insecure about these things. Cool, he's insecure about these things. But are you not an adult person with a functioning brain to be like, I don't like what's happening here, and just remove yourself from the situation? We have to stop acting like women are children. Like, they have the same rights as everyone else. And when they choose to act poorly or make poor decisions, we need to look at them like they're adults. And when they do it, we need to judge them as adult. Don't feel bad for someone who had the options given to them. It wasn't like he was going around sneaking behind her back, fucking other bitches. No, everybody was understood what was happening. This was open between them. Their relationship was open enough that he texted her a bunch of things. So it couldn't be, again, when you text, it can be misused in a certain way in your tone or whatever the case may be. But he told her what he wanted in the relationship, And if she couldn't do it, cool. My real problem is, why was the point of posting it? Like, after that grace period or whatnot, you should have been sleeping with some other people. Again, it just sounds like a scorned, barren bitch. It really is that the guy moved on, and like a year or two later, he put a baby in this girl. The girl the girl he leveled up from. And that just sounds like a jealous bitch. And I said bitch multiple times. But we can't act like when people run to the internet, it's not bitch activities. Again, he didn't do anything legally wrong to her. And again, if someone does something legally wrong to you, you definitely shouldn't come to the internet first. But she decided to do this right when he's like a brand new father, because she just wants to just put this cloud over his head. Maybe she felt some type of way because she couldn't go to the parties anymore. Maybe she wanted to have a kid, and the news bringing up that he's in this new relationship. And again, because I don't follow him like that, but she made it a story that, oh, he has a kid. I wouldn't even be talking to her if she didn't post all this, talking about she was abused and she was getting R. Kelly'd and shit. Like, this is the way people be talking, using this type of verbiage. It is crazy. I can go back to, we should also talk about Jonathan Majors. This black guy's career has got an asterisk on it because people want to come back years later talking about he had a string of abuse. I was like, where was this talk when he was starting up in Marvel? I mean, starting up in his movie career. Because I haven't heard none of these stories. And it's sad and sick that people can just come out of nowhere years down the line with no evidence and be like, you know what? Fuck it. You're an abuser. You're toxic. You're doing this. Again, there's no proof. He can't even defend himself. There's no video evidence. And then I really feel like it's to the point that it's sick. Society's gotten to a point that it's so sick. It's like someone can say something about you with no evidence, and then you have to prove your innocence. But if they bring up something that may or may not have happened years ago, let's say you treated someone badly. Again, people have their off days. Maybe it's one of those cases that they just don't like black people talking to them a certain way. Or they just felt like he was an uppity Negro. Again, Jonathan Majors was dating a white girl. If you guys don't know the story, he's in his car with his driver. The girl starts beating his ass in the car. And then what happens? He calls the cops. The cops show up, don't even listen to his story. He sees that he's dating a white girl. The white girl gives, those white tears because she's a white terrorist. Instantly goes to get this man arrested, fuck up his money. There's rumors that Disney's trying to get rid of him. They might not keep him. He had a freaking commercial for the army. They pulled that. His freaking promotion team, they let that they don't want to work with him anymore. I don't even know if Michael B. Jordan's even talking to this dude anymore. So just like boom, boom, all these things happening, and like his main guy seems to not even be talking about him. Again, I haven't seen anything about it, but he might be talking to him in the background. He might know that it's, hey, you're so hot right now. That guy, this is myself. And I hope that is the case. I hope he's still picking up his phone calls if he's calling them or whatnot. Because I really felt like they had a genuine friendship. But again, I don't know these people. And I hope they actually had a genuine friendship. But again, you know who stood up for him? I should say really stood up for him, but just brought logic to the table. It was like, hey, in this country, you're innocent until proven guilty. That was Anthony Mackie, if you've been watching this guy, he's been dropping some heat. He's been saying the right things. And when he said that, he's like, hey, I don't know if he did it. I don't know if he's innocent. But let's see. Let the evidence go. And that's the way everybody should go into these type of things. And let the evidence do its thing. Now that the evidence come out, she said she had a broken finger. She went to the club that night. There's witnesses coming out saying that Jonathan Majors didn't do any of these things. There's a lot happening. And he's just like, he's suing everybody. Suing the girl, suing the cops. He should sue everybody. everybody who even fixed their mouth to even put any type of negativity on his name should get done in. Like, it's like they didn't learn their lesson at all. They're thinking like, yo, this whole believe all women thing, I understand the concept, but we have to be very careful when you go down this line of thinking. Very careful. Because, again, we know that there's people who will, in fact, just lie, just to save themselves. And again, realistically, it didn't even need to go that far. She just didn't want to get in trouble, so she said that he hit her, did all these things, and now there's this black cloud over his head saying that he's always been an abuser. I'm like, always been an abuser? How so? And this is the first time I'm hearing this, because I feel like this should have been common knowledge. And again, we can't be like, it's Hollywood protecting these guys. Let's just be real. These guys are black actors, and again, if people really wanted to come at black actors, they can do it. They got Keanu Reeves. They blacklisted Keanu Reeves because he didn't want to do Speed 2. That's what the theory was. And he was out of the game for quite a bit, doing low budget movies and everything like that. But came back with a vengeance. And that's just because he just didn't want to do a part. Whatever this is, they're trying to poison him poison his name and everything he's with is kind of crazy. Because they really don't have anything. And he has all the evidence. Again, we've heard a couple stories this year. I should say this year, when the last 2 years in general, just about stories like this. The guy from ESPN, waitress was like, oh, he sexually assaulted her. She didn't feel comfortable. There's video evidence. They didn't even want to show the video. He had a subpoena the video. The guy from ESPN. I can't remember his name right now, but it's crazy. Another black guy that this woman just decided, like, yeah, I was assaulted. I'm just like, no, you just didn't. Like, again, in the interaction, it looked like he didn't even do anything to her. They're both joking, whatnot. He had 2 witnesses that said that never happened. And then when the video footage come out, they're both laughing. She gets back to work, and that's the end of the story. Again, we might have to consider, like, white women as just terrorists, dog. Again, I'm not saying all y'all. I can't say that. But a lot of things happen because of women. Men and women interaction. A guy will get beat up trying to defend his woman. A woman will egg on a guy and get her boyfriend called to defend her honor, and her boyfriend might not have their hands to get beat up. Maybe she's jealous of someone's new ex, her ex's new situation, and she's dating his op, and they try to set him up, which stories we hear. These are all stories that have been heard. But again, the white tears is what grips the nation over here in the United States. And this is how we have all these Karen incidents. People crying, like she's crying, calling the cops, I'm being assaulted, please send help. There's a lot of that happening. And the common denominator here is that there's women and there's white women who are doing these actions. Hey, I'm not trying to say all of them, but the crazy ones that we're seeing, this is it. Oh, man. They just need to figure that out. As a society, we need to come together and figure this out. Like, what is our next step? Like, because we're allowing this type of thing to really put fucking people's trajectories in their lives. And again, what do we do for the news articles, the websites, the blogs, stuff like that puts out this information? I feel like Google and I feel like the big internet search engines should be culpable to it. If it's been found out false, they should redact they should take down the whole thing and print the new stuff. Or not even take it down. Put the update in the original story. So when people find the original story, you can just like that, update the search queues. They should be in charge of doing all that if they're going to post that information. Now, again, if you don't want to be a piece of shit, you would do those things. But they already made the story salacious to be like, oh, he's out here beating women's left and right, giving them fucking hyper uppercuts, Hadoukens that they want to get. Like, damn, combo breakers, dog. What is the cure for this? What is our society has done with this type of talk? Alright, let's talk about reviewers again. Let's go back to gaming. Let's talk about reviewers. Can you trust someone who gets a free review code? Maybe they get flown out to a publisher's event. Because if you get flown out, you know they're gonna put you up. They're gonna pay for your ticket. They're probably gonna spend, let's say, probably like a $2,000 on you. Make you feel a little special. Hotel stay. Food might be comped. Does that blur the line of you being able to give your honest feedback on their games? I'm gonna say it has to. It has to. There's no way you can just say after they spent this money on you that your game sucks. It's a buggy mess. It's trash. I don't even know why you even got into the industry. Why are you even paying people money for this type of garbage? You can't say these type of things. So on some level, everyone is being bought. This is why you see a lot of games get a 3 out of 5 type thing. They'll get like a 70. They'll stay in the 70 range when you know it should be a little less. Out of 100. They'll do these things because 70 is a safe number that everyone has decided like that's the number you can give a game that's not actually doing good. That you can give it that score and not have the company get too mad at you. That's the best score, and being in the 70 range is the best score you can give a game that's pretty much lacking. There's barely games that get lower than, I'm going to say lower than a 65. That's probably like the lowest again, and I rarely see anything leave 70s. But that's because they're being bought. And also, there's a chance you might get blacklisted in the industry if you don't play ball. And again, if you're like some YouTuber who has a little following, maybe you're not as big as you are. Maybe you're not as business savvy as you are. But they're giving you a free code to play their game, and you're playing it early. You might be less likely to say what's really wrong with the game. You might want to use different verbiage on what the flaws are. Now, we've got to a point that could be for anything. Anything that there is a review protocol with it, that someone actually gives you or give you some type of, you get some type of bonus off it, it's going to be biased. Because you know you don't have to be as harshly, or you would feel bad being as harshly for these people who have been treating you so nice. Again, you have to be some type of sociopath to just, rip right into someone. Even Cyberpunk's issues, it didn't get as badly as it should have been. Because it was technically at an unplayable state on last-gen consoles. And it still got around a 70. Still got I think, wasn't it nominated for Game of the Year? Even though that game wasn't even fixed? No Man's Sky didn't get that type of treatment. But it came from a big publisher that people liked. And they were like, we can't give this game that low of a score because CD Projekt Red, we love you. It's just crazy. But who's at fault here? What is the cure for this practice? I think it's so ingrained of how things are being done now. And again, when people say they're doing their own review, your own review is that you have no contact with the company. and you're not getting any beta codes for the game. You're not getting anything from the company itself, and you're playing it. You're playing it release date like everyone else. If you get it before release date, before the embargoes go out and stuff like that, you're bought, and that's okay. But just you can't be like you're impartial. And we really gotta look into how can we make reviewing better, because the big review companies, there's so many people reviewing these games, that the same person that, who's a first-person shooter guy may not review all the first-person shooter games. Maybe he's only going to review the top ones. If it's like a no-name, first-time coming out game, they may not touch that game. They may get like an intern to do it, and then that fucks up the whole review because we don't know about this guy's review. So big companies like IGN, GameSpot, stuff like that, you have to take their reviews with a grain of salt, because you'd have to know the reviewers. And yes, they'd say who's doing the reviews and stuff like that, but again, are they reviewing all the type of games? If the smaller YouTubers or mid-sized YouTubers, might even be the bigger YouTubers, they actually play the games themselves. They're not too big enough that they look, oh, we're going to have an intern play it and then write a review for it. They're actually playing the games themselves. So they have the wherewithal to critique these games on levels, because I can base from what they did for other games and how good the game is doing. If they say, oh, it's like a Call of Duty or Battlefield or a Gears of War, Uncharted, I know what those means. Those are reference points. If it's someone that this is their first RPG or first freaking shooter that they've played in years, and they only know the big names, everything's a Call of Duty clone in their eyes. They'll say Battlefield's a Call of Duty clone, which would make no sense because those are two completely different games. They're trying to accomplish two different things. Battlefield's heavy with the vehicle infantry type thing, and Total War, Call of Duty's more on that personal, boots on the ground, team shooting. Don't get me wrong, they have their different modes and stuff like that, but I'm moving on from my original point. But again, we gotta trust the reviewers. We gotta trust the person who's being flown out, being wine and dined from these companies, getting the review codes, getting flown out, getting, hotel stays. There's a lot of that happening. And who can you trust? Again, if they're doing all this for me, I don't think I can give a game lower than a 3.5. Unless, again, depending how big the company is, because, again, you want to keep these relationships open so that you can keep getting review codes, because they make money off you, and in turn you make money off them by reviewing their game. So you want to keep those doors open. This is why Angry Joe doesn't really go in on these games. Again, he'll say some things, point out some errors, stuff like that, but he's not churning up on these developers like he used to. Like a lot of people are. Because they know that, again, that's bad for business. You still want to get these free codes. You still want to be able to get your video and your review and your impression out before the masses. And, you got to have your radio voice on when you talk about these games. And that changes your opinion. Now, the real question is, can we believe them? That's the real question. Can we believe the opinions that these people have? I'm going to say no. I say I probably would rather trust a smaller YouTuber that clearly that's clearly not in the know, probably has I probably would say less than 10,000 subscribers. I don't think big companies are checking from at that point. And again, once they get past a certain point, they can be bought and sold like everybody else. Their opinions can be bought and sold. But at this age we're in, everybody's bought, everybody's sold. Doesn't matter if you really feel deep down inside you have those opinions. I just don't think you can be so harsh to people that you want to keep an open door with. Unless it's just universally panned, and no one's going to universally pan games nowadays. Because CD Projekt Red should have been universally panned, but it was a softened blow. They were hit with they were in a bubble suit getting hit with D batteries, and it was just bouncing off because they wanted to keep that door open. Because CD Projekt Red, if it drops another game and it's up to snuff, they want their review codes. They know that Witcher 3 was probably one of the biggest games that's dropped within that company. Actually, it is the biggest game to drop within that company. 1 and 2, nobody's even checking for. Like I said, the same thing for all the little Dark Soul clones, Demon Soul clones, Soulborn games. They know that it's an experience when these games come out. I can't think that these games are all as high ranking as they are when they follow the same system. But I can also say the same thing for Gears. I should say Gears. Call of Duty. Does Call of Duty even make Game of the Year? I don't think they even make Game of the Years anymore. Last time I checked, I was just like, I don't think they were even nominated. They probably were nominated, but no one was really picking a COD game for Game of the Year. But again, we're trapped in this weird predicament that no one's gonna willing to sacrifice the potential payday, to be the arbiter of truth about these issues. And that's it for me. Finally dropped another episode. If you're still listening consistently, thank you. You've listened to the Beantown Bully podcast. Please leave a review. If you have any topics, send me an email. My email will be in the description below or somewhere, wherever you're listening to this. And have a wonderful day. I'm out.